Here we go.
Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the Joyful Solopreneur. This is your go-to podcast for entrepreneurs who are looking to infuse a little bit more joy back into your day so that you can create your business on your own terms. Each episode here is brimming with actionable advice and heartfelt insights, empowering you to shape your business the way it works for you, bring more joy. So from honing your message to playful profit planning, prepare to engage with a supportive community that advocates for joy, creativity, and successful entrepreneurship. Let's dive into today's episode 7. Mary, what are we talking about today?
Woohoo! Episode 7. We're so excited. Episode 7 is all about exceeding expectations. So delivering wow experiences and creating raving fans. So we're going to look at this in a two-pronged kind of approach today. So we're going to talk about providing that for your customers and your clients, but then also for building those referral partnerships. We make that a win-win, exceeding our clients' expectations, our customers, and our referral partners' expectations. So this is a really
I love that question, just starting right from the get-go of when you think about what does it take to create a wow experience? How can I really wow somebody? That surprise factor, that makes my heart feel joyful.
Yeah, yes, I know. I love giving gifts and I love surprising people, and sometimes it's just the simplest little thing that we can do that can really make them step back and say, "Oh my gosh, wow, I didn't expect that to happen," right? And then those wow experiences turn into great word of mouth referrals, right? Because they're going to say, "Oh my gosh, look what my client just did for me," or "Look what my coach just did for me," or whatever it is, right? So they're going to share that with all their friends. So we want to really use that to help grow our business and deepen the relationships with those people that we're serving, right? So, and brings us more joy.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you have certain things that you enjoy doing? To me, I kind of think that it almost starts even from the get-go when you're just onboarding a client. Um, the relationship starts at the very beginning, and I like to send a welcome package and a little gift along with that, whether that's a book that's going to be relative to the conversation we're having together, or it could just be a little touchstone so that they can remember you. Mary, what are
Mhm.
some of the things that you use?
Yeah. So when I mail out, when somebody joins my peer advisor board, I typically mail them out their workbook that we're going to use. And so I usually include my my book, and then I write them a handwritten note saying, "I'm so excited you're going to be part of our community, and we're looking forward to your first meeting on this date, and fill out this page of the workbook," right? And then I've included a little treat for you, right? So I really just love throwing in those little extras, and even though I've told them all that in an email, where that I'm going to mail them the book and all that kind of stuff, to open it up and have a little handwritten note and the gift of a book is really an extra bonus kind of thing. So love doing that. We talked about just relating to, as consumers, when have we experienced a wow customer service or a not so wow customer service, right? We all have those stories in our mind of dealing with businesses that are, just immediately turn us off, or they really didn't have any customer service, versus when you know it when you see it, right? and I think people have been talking about the lack of customer service, or the lack of just, comment. What used to be courtesy is now considered extra special service.
Yeah, so it should be easy these days to get a wow experience.
It doesn't take much
downhill. So
yeah.
just be a good human.
Just return your phone calls and use please and thank you and be polite. You're already above some of your competitors, right? So it doesn't take a lot. But there's a place that I go to where I have my mailbox. It's called the Village Workspace, and they are really great at making you feel, they have hundreds of people coming in and out the door all the time, but every time I call them or I walk in the door, they greet me by my name, and they know who I am and what I'm about, and they have some way to talk to me that makes me feel like they actually know me. I'm not just a name that they memorized, right? So they make me feel like a person. And then they always bend over backwards anytime I'm in there to rent a space for a conference or whatever. They just are always so accommodating, like whatever you need, we'll make it happen, right? Within reason, right? But they just, it's always no problem. What do you need? Here it is. We'll provide the solution, right? So everything is just easy. You don't have to, negotiate and everything's a hassle, or they're not rolling their eyes going, I guess we can do that for you, right? It's just everything's easy. How can they make my experience better every time I go in there? And we just had 3 days worth of meetings there, and we had a caterer, great caterer, but they had so much food. We even dropped our numbers because we knew they always bring so much food. So we had so much food left over. And so the owners, Gina and Taylor, came and said, we work with a shelter that will take this food, and we'll take it and we'll deliver it to them. So we didn't have to worry about it during our meeting or anything like that. They took they made the arrangements to get the shelter this extra food, and they're like, they love to have all of this fresh food, right? So that was above and beyond my expectation. I was feeling bad because I was like, I don't know what to do with all this extra food. And they're like, we've got a solution, right? They created a win-win-win solution, and they made it easy for me to deal with that. They took on the burden of coordinating the delivery of the food, and then the people at the shelter got the extra food, right? Which was great. So those kind of experiences, just going above and beyond. And I'm sure they wouldn't think it was above and beyond because that's just the kind of people that they are. But as a consumer, right, as somebody who rents from them or experiences stuff in their community, I've always now will say, I want to do stuff with them because they treat me like a human, and they are so positive and uplifting, right? So that's what we want our customer service to look like.
And undoubtedly, if somebody's saying, hey, do you know of an event space? Like, there's no hesitation. It's like, heck yeah, the village workplace is the place.
Yes, exactly. I send people there all the time. It's like, you can rent a conference space. They're just great to work with. The vibe in there is just one of positivity and uplifting and supporting each other. And so when you have that experience, then you can really talk about it, and you can say, again, going back and being reflective, what is it about what they're doing that I want to make sure I'm doing with my own clients?
There's a place, the Broadway Collective, that I go, and she's got teas and different types of coffee pots, and there's different areas that you can go, and each one of them it's like particularly appointed. So it's like, what is that? It's the equivalent of like the mint on the pillow.
Right.
What is that extra thing? I was actually on the receiving end of one. I did a speaking engagement, and this woman, it was an online presentation that I did, but the woman had listened so deeply and took copious notes. And so in the thank you note she wrote, hand wrote to me, she hit on all the different topics and how it made her feel. And I was just like, it was so heartfelt, and it just really touched me that she took that amount of time. Not only did she listen so deeply, but for her to have taken the time to handwrite that note, it was like, wow.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Really powerful. I love getting things like that, right? And that means they're taking the time to make that extra effort to send you the note, right? Which is good customer service on their end, even though we're not necessarily their customer. However, there are, when we redefine the word customer or clients, right? We have internal customers and external customers, right? So those internal ones might be more direct. If you have a company, with employees or people you're interacting with, those are the direct, relationships that we need to take care of and build those relationships and provide that experience, that good customer service experience. But then it's also, who are the people in that next ring out? They're not necessarily our clients, but they could be potential referral partners, right? Or somebody that we interacted with. How are we interacting with them and providing them that next level customer service when they're not necessarily working with us, right? So it's good to kind of think about people almost as concentric rings, right? So here's the people I'm directly working with and can really control that experience. And then here's the ring outward, and there might be 3 or 4 rings outward, but how do I still always show up at this as this person who is going slightly above what's expected, right? Yeah.
And that just becomes the norm for you. Then
Yeah.
just as you said, it's almost like that it becomes a reputation. So your reputation is
Mhm.
going to precede you. I like to think of those times. They're just simple things. My previous business was doing meeting planning, and the simple things, like just beforehand, you recognize that the client is in their time crunch, and to offer to send out a mail merge of the letters of confirmation for, whatever. It's like at a time when they were so crunched, it just felt like you moved a mountain for them. And
Mhm.
so those are tiny little ways, now in my coaching world, is to recognize the client journey. So at the beginning, they're excited to be on board. They're, in touch with their dreams, and they're seeing it as possible. They're all excited to dive in. So giving them the gifts that help them reinforce that longer term vision, but then also recognize that there's a natural cycle that then, you start getting going and life is happening, and now there's clashing, priorities, and it starts to get hard. So at that touch point, what is it that you can do to give them that extra boost of confidence, or that extra resource that might help them through that tough moment? And then every step of the way, I like to touch in. I think one of the most important things that we can do is recognition, like we were
Mhm.
talking about. That's one of the things that touches someone's soul the deepest, is just to let them know that you've seen and appreciated who they are. So to be able to do touch points throughout the working time frame and acknowledge and celebrate with them the progress that they're making, giving them feedback, and acknowledging, like, you've come a long way, because it's
Mhm.
just a human experience that even if we're, we've are 3/4 of the way there, the part that we
Yeah.
see is that 1/4 that's, I still haven't finished that. It's like, no, no, no. Let's go back and celebrate all the progress that you've made, all the things that we've been through together, and how much you appreciate what it took. Take that extra step to acknowledge who they are in that process, and who they are in the process of becoming, because they may not see it for themselves yet, but that level of appreciation. And then just to continue the client journey, but even on the, as you're wrapping up a working thing with someone, what is a wow experience that you could give them towards the end of your working thing that might be a cut above? I love how you said they're taking not the solution and delivering the food for you, so you don't even have to. They didn't just say, "Oh, dump it over here at this
Right.
nonprofit." They took that step to do it. But so in a coaching arrangement, it can be to give them a meaningful gift that became the touchstone during your working relationship, or something that represents the future them that they're becoming. But what is something, I like to do handwritten notes myself, and acknowledging them and the person that they become in the process together. But those are just some of the things I enjoy.
Nice, nice. And, as solopreneurs, we're talking to solopreneurs, right? And how can we make it joyful? So finding something that brings you joy. If you like to give little gifts, right? There's lots of ways you can give little gifts. Or if you like to write cards or send cards or things like that, um, those are all great. I have terrible handwriting, and so I love send out cards. I've been a member of them for a long time. And so I go in and you can create campaigns. Again, these are work hard once projects that as entrepreneurs, there's always lots of things on our plate. So how can we have that set up that customer experience to be a next level where we don't have to take on the burden of doing it all the time, right? Not that it's a burden, but how can we make it easier? How can we automate it, right? So a card program like Send Out Cards has been really great for me, because I can go in at the beginning of the year and I set up my campaigns for the year, and I say, okay, these are these are my referral partners. Once a quarter, I want to send them this little positive note, and I design the card, and got a personalized message, and then they just go out once a quarter. I pick the dates, and they go out 4 times a year, and then I do the same thing for birthdays, right? For my family, for my friends, for those kind of things. And those are all set for the year. And then I do the same thing for onboarding new clients. So when I onboard somebody onto my boards, they get a series of 3 cards that are encouraging and welcoming and those kind of things, right? But they get those in the mail every 2 to 3 weeks when they first join my groups. They feel really welcomed and acknowledged. And it's the same card that goes to every person, right? They don't necessarily know that, but they're getting something in the mail from me. And then I do one monthly for all of my clients, right? So they get that positive note, positive inspiration from me once a month. And so that's really helpful. And it's something you can do in one chunk of time. You can map all those out, and then they just get delivered on a regular basis, and I don't have to think about it again during the year, which is, again, work hard once, time saving tip.
Now,
But
how many people just want
yeah,
to lean in and become her client just because you know that you're going to get a card,
I know.
right?
We have the best intentions, like, oh, I'll handwrite a note, and then we get busy, and there's just so much going on. The more you can automate some of these things, again, it doesn't take a lot to provide that wow customer service, right? We think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to buy everybody a gift now, and I'm going to have to do all this extra stuff. It doesn't take a lot. It can be a card, and doesn't even have to be a handwritten card. It can be one that's automated through the system, right? But still, it's that touch point. You're thinking about them, right? Even if I thought about them in January for the whole year, they still are making that connection back to me, every time they receive one of those cards. And I get messages all the time saying, oh my gosh, how did you remember? And, thank you for sending me a birthday card. I only got, nobody sends me cards anymore. Everybody texts me
Yeah,
or,
we don't get
video.
stuff in the mail. That's a
Yeah.
perfect way to stand out. I love that, Mary.
So yeah, that's been one of my favorite ways to make it easy for me, but also make something memorable that can be spread out through the year. And the referral partner ones, I think, are so important because, I started doing that maybe 2 years ago, where once a quarter, these are the people I just want to stay connected to in some way. Maybe they refer me, maybe they don't. Maybe I just want to drop into their mailbox, right? I want to stay on their radar. So just, again, having that set up so that 4 times a year they get something from me in the mail. It's like, how many times do you get something from somebody in the mail, right? And if when you do, it really does stand out, right? Other than our realtor and insurance people that mail us stuff all the time, but something that's just pleasant and just fun. It can be joyful, right? So that's been a big way that I kind of help myself stay connected and provide a deeper level of experience to my clients.
You, you're hitting me on a pet peeve. I love the referral partners. It's one of the best, ways to leverage your relationships with other people is create good. But after somebody has sent you a referral, follow up with them and to be able to send, like
Yes.
you said, a card afterwards to say thank you, that was really appreciated. So it doesn't even have to be a financial retribution, which is nice, if you want to send them a
Right.
Starbucks card or something, a gift card of some sort. But I mean, just a simple thank you, just that extra step is that wow experience. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I love that too. So, I think, looking at ways we can build those partnerships as well, it is really being a great referral source yourself. So making sure that you have people in your network that you can refer out to, and then, being able to introduce them to a new client. Don't just, this is one of my pet peeves as well. Don't connect us via text message, right?
yeah, take it away.
Yeah. Mary, meet Sally, go. It's like that doesn't really help. I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess, but at the same time, I prefer, again, exceptional customer service. If you can create an email that says, Sally, meet Mary. She does all this, and Mary, meet Sally because we had a conversation, and then she needs a business coach, and I thought of you, right? Here's your contact information. Happy connecting. So you can kind of make it a template where meet so and so, meet so and so. Here's why I'm connecting you. That's just, again, a next level customer service as the referral partner. people. And then when you're getting referrals or introductions, like Kathy said, make sure you're letting the people know, hey, you can copy them on that original email and say, thanks for the introduction. It acknowledges that you got the referral, you got the introduction, and that you're taking the next step. And then, if you end up working with that person or not, you still want to send a thank you card and say, hey, thank you for sending me, George, Bob, or whatever. And if you do start working with them, always let them know, that was great. He's the perfect kind of client I love to work with. We're working together, blah, blah, blah. So then you can help train them, because if they're sending you people that aren't really your ideal clients, you want to have that conversation with your referral partners as well. And again, those conversations, it may seem like I'm being too picky or I don't want to offend them, but you're helping them to be a hero in their client's eyes, right? Because if you're a good person to refer to, the person referring looks like a hero when they're sending somebody your way, and they know they're going to be taken care of, and they know they're going to be, dealt with effectively and have great customer experiences, right? So help them look like a hero and help yourself receive better referrals.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah. And it's joyful, right? Because everybody's happy. We're creating win-win-win situations for everybody all around, and that makes us happy, and that makes us joyful.
Yeah. And another thing I like is just to be able to create some kind of way that people can be in contact with me all the time. So a lot of times with clients or whatever, to be able to send a little random check-in, like, how, off the record, like allowing them to, because I think whether that's a referral partner or somebody that you're working with, it can be too easy for us to just say, I'm not, it's not a big deal, I'm not going to share this. But if you give them a chance to preempt of like, something's off base or whatever, for them to have that line of communication with you um, to nip it in the bud, make sure that the relationship is important enough to me. I want to make sure that each step of the way, we are on track, we're in sync, we're making progress, and everything's copacetic.
Yeah, yeah, those feedback loops are really powerful. Another thing, and I just thought of it and then it disappeared out of my head. Client stories was one of the notes I wrote down. So we can talk about that. Really working that into, we talked about that in our last episode around sales, was how do you build in your client success stories, right? So that's part of exceeding the expectations, is asking your clients when you have exceeded their expectations, or when they pick up the phone or they send you an email saying, wow, this was amazing. I'm so, or I got this result, and because of our conversation, I was able to switch this, or whatever it was, or I landed that big client. When they call you and want to celebrate with you, that's the perfect time to ask them for a testimonial. And it may seem a little clinical, it may seem a little self-serving, but you want to grab the people when they're at their highest happiness level, right? When they're the most joyful in working with you. So, and then that can help us put that testimonial in the right context in our client stories for future clients when we're making those sales, having those sales conversations, is that this client was here, and then now they worked through our program, or they went through the coaching with me, or whatever it was, and now this is their testimonial, right? And you got that joyful testimonial that's based on the wow experience they've just had with you, right? So then that makes other people like, I want to have that experience too, right? So it's that third party endorsement. Yeah. So we want to make sure we're capturing those wow moments. Not that we're doing the wow moments, going above and beyond just to get those, but when they do happen, we want to make sure we capture those so that we can use those for future testimonials or future clients' success stories.
I like how you said kind of like you're featuring their success. So maybe it becomes a regular in your newsletter of, here's a featured client, and maybe the benefit to them is added exposure to your group. Maybe you've got an audience that some of your clients would benefit from being in front of. So
exactly.
I've seen, I don't happen to do it, but I've got coaches that I've worked with that will have a speaking summit, and we get to be featured as their people, but it gives us practice and it gives us exposure to their audience. They're basically being transparent and like, these people are up and coming, and here's, plug in, and because of that, the trust that they built with their own audience, it transfers to us that get spotlighted because we've worked with them. And then we've got an inordinate amount of people that may sign up for our, sample workshop or whatever that is. But
Mhm.
it makes you feel special and seen and appreciated and gives you,
Right. And I think, those words you just used, every human being on the planet wants to feel like they are seen and heard. So sometimes to create the wow customer experience, that's all we need to do is acknowledge them as human beings and let them know that they are seen and heard. And of course, I throw in celebration with them. So let them know I'm celebrating with them. And sometimes that's all it takes. Again, we don't have to have, yes, you can put lots of plans in place, depending on what your level is. But I think just the very basics of exceeding customers' expectations are just really connecting them as human beings, right? As a joyful human being and bringing positivity to them whenever we can. We mentioned this in some of the other episodes, but just making sure that we're leaving the interaction with them feeling a little better than when they came into the experience with us, whether that's a phone call, whether that's a 5-minute conversation at a networking event, whatever it is, right? Leaving that person a little bit better off than they were when we started the conversation. That's great customer experience, right? That's creating a wow customer experience. And
yeah.
imagine if everybody did that in every conversation they had. It would shift our whole world, right? It doesn't take a lot to have that exceed people's expectations.
Yeah. I like to do it with past clients too, because a lot of times the kind of work that I do, giving them a change in their mindset is a change in the trajectory of their lives. So like Mary said, we want to capture them when they're all excited that at the moment of that change or that, landed the first client. But it's like I like to touch base a couple, a year or two afterwards. So what if you're celebrating an anniversary of like, hey, it's been a year or it's been 2 years since we worked together. And maybe it's I like being personal, picking up the phone and calling. But I don't know, people come into they become family for me. So I'm
Yeah.
in touch with a lot of my past clients and touching base with them. And because of that, it's like you said, part of this feels self-serving, but honestly, it's just my natural way of caring. I want to know how things are going. But what happens is that you remain top of mind for them. So when they run across somebody going through a similar struggle, they can say, "Oh my gosh, who's the best? Got to call Kathy for this." And
Yeah.
yeah, so just before, during, after, how can you stay top of mind and just love those people up, love fest,
Yeah. Yes.
so they're
Yes.
gonna
Spread some joy.
remember you.
Yeah. And I have always had this rule of three. So if somebody pops into my mind or an email or whatever, if their name comes into my awareness 3 times within a day or couple of days, then that means I'm supposed to reach out to them, right? So that's just my way, my intuition telling me, okay, the universe is putting this person in front of me some random way. Multiple times I need to reach out to them. So I just had that happen yesterday. This person popped in my mind when I was getting dressed in the morning. I don't know why, and so I was like, oh, if that's the third time I've thought about that person, I need to so I just sent her a text saying, hey, just thinking about you. Hope everything is well, hope you're doing okay. And we texted back and forth, just a few short text messages and caught up. And, that was it. And so, but now we've reconnected and we've had that experience of reconnecting, right? And so just that check-in point. So I do listen to those intuitions, start to pay attention when somebody's popping into your mind, or you might see an old email from them, or you might hear their name in a conversation, in a networking event or something. It's sometimes really random how people's names drop into our consciousness. But I try to pay attention to those. And if it happens 3 times, then I'm like, okay, I got to reach out and touch base with this person, either
Which I
text.
bet they probably said, wow, I was just thinking about you.
They do. Often they do. They're like, were your ears burning? Because I was just talking about you yesterday, right? And so it's amazing how if we let ourselves make that connection and hear those connections, see those connections, how powerful those can be for us too. So I encourage you to pay attention to those. intuitions or promptings or, whatever they are.
I love that.
Yes, yes. So joy, joy, joy. Um, okay, so what is our challenge here as we talk about exceeding our expectations, delivering wow customer service, right? So there's all kinds of ways you can automate some of this again so it doesn't become so overwhelming. But again, we want to keep that personal touch in there as much as possible because that really does help build that connection, that relationship with our clients. So what is the challenge? We have down here to implement one new tactic to enhance your customer service. That in the tactic could be implemented in a way that could turn a satisfied customer into a raving fan. So we really didn't touch on raving fans, but do you want to talk about that just briefly, Kathy?
Oh, it's kind of that concept is
Mhm.
once you've really given them that wow experience, it's just like you're saying, they're not just going to tell one person, they're going to tell six, they're going to tell 12 people. So they become your raving fan. They're going to be somebody that kind of becomes somebody that can be a future sounding board. They're part of the family. They're you treat them as part of your inner circle. And they really can, that one relationship can really exponentialize the number of referrals or connections or input that you get in the future. So I
Yeah.
love that of just what is one way, and have fun with this, like,
Yeah.
just get back to your just that gift giving thrill. What
Right.
gift can you give to someone that you are about to work with or are working with or have worked with? And how can you wow them today?
Yeah, and sometimes it's the gift of our voice or our time, right? And just picking up the phone call and checking in and saying, "How are you? How, thinking about you today. I want to make sure you're seen and heard today, right?" So it could be something that simple. But challenge yourself to find one way to enhance your customer service. Then get ready to listen to our next episode.
Episode
Which would
8,
be what?
Path to
Episode 8.
Prosperity, becoming your own CEO. Oh,
Yay! Episode 8. We're almost done with our pop-up podcast season. So we hope you've been enjoying this each episode and getting some tips and taking the challenges and implementing those in your business. But we are wrapping up episode 7, looking forward to episode 8, and we'll see you next week.